Announce that the Phoenixville Community Health Foundation has awarded us $20,000 for this fiscal year. Again, thank you, Dr. Baccaria.
I didn't realize that was next. And I need repairs, whatever. Okay, the entire board had 2 planning sessions, and the result of those sessions was the realization we've never really properly thanked all of our supporters. And this is why we decided we needed to have this dinner. And we want to thank you all for coming. At the close of this, we're going, Kurt Kunsch, President, and I will go around and personally meet with some of our supporters to make sure we understand what you're looking for so that our mission is working with you. Thank you.
Okay, this is a little bit of a shocker. I'm standing in for Bob Strunk, who is the director of our Strategic Management Committee. Our Strategic Management Committee is primarily an overseer of what goes on relative to the planning and future operations of Phoenixville Homes. Right now, we're monitoring homes that have been rehabbed, and we're monitoring the sale of one home in Spring City, one in Phoenixville, and one in Royersford. 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting, and it was a very, very interesting meeting because it was a tentative plan to perhaps consolidate many community foundations into one building in Phoenixville, which would be absolutely fantastic to combine all those resources in one site. So that's something I personally am very excited about. And then there's another one, but it's a great big secret because we're planning yet another big housing development. It will be in Phoenixville. Site to be announced at a future date. And I'll leave you hanging with that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to start off by saying thank you for coming. Without you, the donors out there, Phoenixville Homes couldn't do what it does, and we really appreciate you. Not to sound like a bit of a broken record, but I'm also a transplant. I'm from outside of the Scranton area, and I just want to publicly apologize to Steve. I'm sorry about trying to find those nickels. I'll be quicker next time. But I am the committee chair for the Personnel Committee, which also consists of Miranda Mitchell, who will be speaking a little bit later on the committee that was in charge of this wonderful event. Since joining the board, and I'm a fairly new member of the board, we've really started to try and take a look at our personnel policy, something that is probably long overdue, and get it to a point where we're also appreciating not only the donors, but the personnel and the employees that we have. We were fortunate through Steve's help and through several other people's help to enlist the resources of Professor Brian Metz to assist us with this. Professor Metz this is his specialty, and we're really excited to be able to work with him. And in fact, we'll also be working with Andrea Mori, who is a Cabrini College student who's an H1 major. And again, it's her specialty, so we're really excited to have that, to form those type of partnerships out there to help accomplish the goal of Phoenixville Homes and to keep moving forward in progress. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for being here tonight. I'm here to talk about the Senior Center, Community Senior Center. And we're talking about quality of life, and we believe as the quality of life in our 3 facilities are wonderful, but we would even be better if we could connect with our community. And we're talking about networking with our community and finding ways to bring our community to our facilities to the community, and do things that will not only enhance the life of our residents, but enhance the life of all of our community, where we will network information, network resources, network learning and education, and bring that all together into a very, very exciting time to improve not only the quality of life of our residents, but of our community.
Good evening, everyone. My co-chair, Sarah Grease, and I were charged with the task of putting together this event for this evening to thank our funders and our sponsors for your support and to encourage you to continue to support the mission of Phoenixville Homes. We would like to extend a special thank you to the Phoenixville Area School District for lending us the services of Mr. Tom Ramsey, who produced the video that you saw earlier. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. It was wonderful. After we submit our final summary report to the board, our task for this year will be over, but the work will just begin all over again. So again, we thank you so much for coming out tonight, and please continue to support us. Good night.
Okay, what would an evening be without a little surprise or two? And we want to definitely thank our ladies who have worked tireless hours. I had no clue how much effort there is to putting on one of these functions. We're talking nights, weekends, on and on and on. So thank you, ladies, very, very much. And enjoy your meal. Good evening. We're going to try to get back on track. And with that, I'm going to ask our keynote speaker, Connie Loukatis, Director. That didn't work too good, did it? Okay, all right. We're back. Live. And I'm going to ask Connie Loukatis, Director of Multifamily HUD, that's Department of Housing and Urban Development, unlike what I said on the video. Sorry, Connie. And she is with us. She is in charge of over 2,000 properties or housing developments covering 4 states, Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New Jersey. And we are just so pleased to have her as our keynote speaker. Connie?
Thank you very much. It's wonderful being here with you today. I think I have the best job in the world, really, to come out here and join you at dinner and to celebrate everything that you're doing. I have been at HUD for 30-some years, and basically what we do at HUD is give money, and that's nice, but more importantly, we work with partners such as you in order to have housing built. Money, as you know, does not make things happen. It certainly helps, but it is not enough. And it is only as a result of partners such as you who submit applications to HUD for funding. Thanks to Congress. Congress makes money available to build housing for people with disabilities under our 811 program, and also housing for our seniors under our 202 program. I want to congratulate the board because in the many years I've been at HUD, I have seen a lot. And just because a housing is built does not mean that it continues to be maintained well, and it doesn't mean that the board continues to be what looks like is happening with this board, with these boards at these properties. What happens sometimes, especially, and I have a property in mind in central Pennsylvania where, in fact, a group of churches got together, and 20 years later, this church was not involved in the property anymore. That board member wasn't involved, and the next thing you know, there's no owner that's involved with the property. And it happens more often than we like to admit. So it's really extraordinary, the work that you are doing here. And I want to really commend all of you for having the vision to go to training as board, have the committees that you have the assistance that you have in order to move forward. I would suggest, I was reading your mission statement. And let me read you, a lot of you talked about your mission statement, and I'd like to read it to you. It says, to develop affordable housing solutions for persons of low income with disabilities and senior citizens in Northern Chester and Western Montgomery counties. I would like to suggest that you change the vision statement, that mission statement, because based on what I've heard today, you're doing a lot more than develop affordable housing. You are developing the affordable housing, but in addition to that, you are having activities for the seniors, you are having all kinds of social services, you're going to have a neighborhood network in the property to improve the quality of life of the residents, etc. So you're doing a lot more than developing the properties. Anybody really, as long as you have enough money, can develop properties. But I would encourage you to think about your mission statement, and perhaps you may want to revise it to add some of the other things, extraordinary things that you're doing as a result of your partners, including the medical facilities and medical services that you're going to be providing for the residents. I mean, it's really extraordinary that you're doing all of that. The two properties that we're involved with the seniors are the Gruber Mills in Spring City, and then the 8011. The need for such housing is great and is growing every year. At the present time, 12% of all Americans are classified as elderly, nearly 35 million. By 2040, this percentage will grow by 23%, to 23%. Also, in Pennsylvania alone, there are 297 individuals classified as disabled. As you know, the elderly and the disabled have unique problems and needs. Many are faced with a substantial reduction of income, loss of status, mobility restrictions, social isolation, and increased dependence on the services and assistance of others. Care, however, must be taken not to stereotype the elderly or the disabled. They may be independent or dependent, alert or have mental disabilities, gregarious or withdrawn, or well-educated or uneducated. This is what makes the jobs of managers of housing for the elderly and the disabled so challenging and demanding. Managers are both a tool that establishes and maintains the residents' emotional environment and an integral part of the network of support services necessary for meaningful day-to-day living. As the key to a successful project, managers must be flexible and have an understanding that a properly operated housing for the elderly or disabled is a valuable resource to the community and makes years of satisfying independent living possible for many people. In addition, it is proven that when seniors work as groups, they live longer and have a much better quality of life than if they are living by themselves. HUD projects also meet the needs of elderly tenants through the neighborhood network centers. And that is a special project of mine. Since the Neighborhood Networks Initiative started in 1995, in eastern Pennsylvania alone, there are 142 centers, 33 in Philadelphia. With the support from innovative public-private partnerships, Neighborhood Network Centers sponsor a range of services and programs. Nearly all centers offer job training and educational opportunities, and many also provide programs that include access to healthcare, information, and micro-enterprise development. And I know that is one of the things that you are working on, And what I would encourage you to do is visit some of the neighborhood networks that we have operating in some of our properties. They are really extraordinary. And seniors, you have seniors that are 90, 95 years old at the computers. It's really extraordinary. In the 51 years that have transpired since the initiation of the Section 202 program, and in the 18 years since the Section 811 program began, hundreds of thousands of the elderly and the disabled have been assisted in eastern Pennsylvania area alone. Presently, in eastern Pennsylvania, 319 properties are designated as housing for elderly, and 64 are housing for people with the disabled. And those are all privately owned housing. I'm not talking about public housing. These are just privately owned housing. Many view the 202 program as the most successful federal housing program ever developed. Now, more than 40 years later, the need for the program is even more acute and growing so with each decade. According to the Census Bureau, the population of those over 65 will double between 90 and 2025. This increase is caused by the aging baby boomers and their increased life expectancy, which right now is 81 years. Nationwide, there are an estimated 8 applicants in line for every unit of Section 202 elderly housing. Therefore, it is important that nonprofit organizations such as Phoenixville Homes continue to work with HUD to address this housing demand. So I was especially glad to hear that you are already thinking of building another multifamily property. And it's important that since the application process happens once a year, normally in the spring, it's critical that at this point we have many, many more applications for the funding that we have available. So it's important that you start thinking now if you are going to submit an application next year. And of course, unfortunately, the amount of money that we have available has been decreasing every year because of multiple needs by Congress. So we are really especially excited about the few units that we have this year. This year in eastern Pennsylvania, we have almost 100 units, which isn't very much considering our need, but it's better than not having any at all. So it's important that you submit good applications. And of course, Jerry Burton does a great job. So that's continue to keep her, I would think, as a consultant because she does terrific. Partners such as that are important for expanding the supply of affordable housing. I want to tell you a funny story. I go to senior housing a lot, and sometimes I go to board meetings at night. One of the programs that we have that Congress started a few years ago is a program called Assisted Living Conversion. And that is a grant. We give out once a year grants, a few of them, for taking a certain number of units in multifamily senior housing and converting them to assisted living. Because it's been proven that folks, as I mentioned before, will live longer if they are in their own homes versus being in assisted living, in nursing homes, etc. So we had given money to a 202 property in New Jersey recently, and the board was having and it was a grant, and the board was having second thoughts about the funding because, again, it was a very good board, and they wanted to make sure that they could deliver on the promises that they had indicated in the past, namely that they would have enough seniors that require the assistance, that require additional employees or contract out the services for assisted living. Since the property was 30 years old, a lot of the members of the board had been with the property for 30, 40 years. So most of them were in their 70s and even 80s. So I said, thank you. I was thanking them for doing all the hard work that they had been doing all those years. And I said, and I also want to thank your spouses for letting you outside your homes and being involved so long with these meetings and these activities. And I was going on how important it was, and then one of the gentlemen said, "Oh no! If it wasn't for this activity, we would have been divorced years ago." Of course, this is not going to happen with these members of this board, but it was. I hesitate now to say thank you for the spouses too. But all kidding aside, it's extraordinary the work that board people do, and I really want to thank you for all the work that you do. The work that is a combination of everyone's efforts truly totals more than the sum of each individual contribution. Each of our successes depend on the work of our colleagues, but the culmination of our joint enterprise